All right, in this video, we're going to go through all the roots up to 200. And you can see here that I've listed them. And I converted the document from a PDF, so I'm just making sure nothing is wrong, but it all looks good to me. So we did something similar in our lesson on Thursday, sorry, and I got you to write them. But you can print this out again if you like. We only went up to 100, but this sheet goes up to 200. And the reason for doing this is it's quite methodical, but it also gives you an understanding of how we simplify surds. So if you're away, we're going to go through it again. So I suggest you print it out. If you don't have a printer, you're going to have to draw up the table and write all the surds. Now, we did in class simplify them, but I'm going to do that as well. I'll see if I can extend the table and do that. But it's just a matter of seeing how we go since I had to convert this document from a PDF. All right, so a surd is basically a number that doesn't, we call it an irrational number because it's not a whole number. So you can see here we've got 1, okay? So that's not a surd because it can be, it's 1. It's not the square root of 1 is 1. And any number that is a square number, so you can take the square root of it, it becomes a whole number. So when you think of it here, the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so you can write 2 there. And you can do that for all your square numbers. So the next one, so 3 squared is 9. So square root of 9 is 3. The next one, 4 squared is 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. And you can keep going. So you can do the square root of 25, square root of 36, and so on. So I can do it with you, but I might actually just pause the video so that I can complete it and not waste your time, and you can do it too. So if you want to pause at the same time, you can, and then check your answers, or you can obviously pause when you want. All right. Okay, so I've gone through and I've done them all. So you can see your higher numbers. You probably know up to 12 squared is 144. 13 squared is 169, so we've got 13 there. And then 14 squared is 196, so I've got 14 written there. Okay, and this colour is probably not the best one because you can't really see it too well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is think about our squared numbers. So I'm going to put them up the top here. So when you're simplifying surds, if you have trouble, always write down your squares. So 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, and keep going. What's next? 64, 81, comma, and then we've got 100. And for this activity, we don't really need to keep going because we're only going to do up to the square root of 200. So we're looking at multiples of these numbers. So if I did the multiple of 121, which is 11 squared, we're not going to go, will be higher than 200. So it's not on this page. So that means anything that is a multiple of these numbers can be simplified. So you can go through and say, all right, and when I say simplified, we've done all our whole numbers. Okay, so these are all not surds. Okay, so I might just circle them. You don't have to circle them. Actually, what I might do, let's just get rid of that for a sec. And let's see if I can just highlight them. That might be easier. I want a pen color. There we go, shading. Okay, so if I go through and just, see, I think we've got an issue here. Sorry. Let me just pause. So I've gone ahead and just shaded in blue, all our non-surds. So these are whole numbers, basically, they're integers. And I've just noticed by clicking on them, the square root signs disappeared, which is a total bummer. I don't know why that happened. But for the next one, I don't know whether I'll highlight them if it's going to get rid of the squared sign. I wonder why that happened. So, so multiples of 4. So the first multiple of 4 is 8. So let's just see what happens if I shade that in. Yeah, it's going to get rid of my squared sign. Okay, I'd rather keep the square root sign than to shade. So just bear with me while okay, so what we're going to do is I'll just put a dot next to everything that can be simplified. 18 can be, square root of 18 can be. So, all right, let's rewind. Anything that's multiple of these numbers can be simplified. So let's have a look at the number 4. So obviously the square root of 4 becomes 2. So I'm just going to put a little dot next to everything that is a multiple of 8. So square root of 16 I don't need to do. 20, 24, 28, 32, and 36 I don't need to do, 40, and where are we, 44. Okay, I'm going to pause soon. So you'd go on and do that for all the 4s until you get to 200. And when you do it, you can probably see a pattern. So I can see here that if I just went down like this, these numbers are all multiples of 4. Okay, so that just means it doesn't require much thinking. And every second one here. Okay, so just make sure I don't get mixed up. Okay, that one's already done. And then we're also doing, yeah, so 28, 48, 68. Right, so I'll just quickly do this. So I'm just doing a dot if you're wondering what I'm doing, and then here as well. Okay. All right, so I'm just putting a dot next to surds that can be simplified. So when you think about simplifying something, so let's take a fraction for an example. So if I had 6/8, that can simplify to 3/4. Okay, so a surd, so the square root of 8 can actually be simplified. So we need to write things in their simplified form. We don't leave it as its original form if it can be simplified. So we're just working out which ones can be simplified. All right, so we've done multiples of 4. Then you go and do 9. So the square root of 9 we've already done. Square root of 18 I did before, and 27, and so on. But you'll notice there's another pattern here that if we just go along this diagonal, okay, we're still getting the multiples of 9. Okay, so then you can go on and do that again. Now, 117. Okay. Oh, I'm just going to pause there just to make sure. Okay, sometimes I doubt myself, so I just wanted to check on the calculator that 153 was actually divisible by 9, and it was. Good to know. The maths teacher knows what she's doing. Okay, so there I've done the 9s. Okay, and then you go on to do 16. Now, the thing with the 16 is 4 is already a factor of 16, so we don't have to do 16. It's already done. So then we can do 25. And it becomes fewer and fewer as you go on because we're getting to these bigger numbers. And also 4 goes into 36, so I don't need to do that. And 4 also goes into 64. And then 9 goes into 81, so I don't need to do that either. And 25 goes into 100, and so does 4. So there's only a few left, and I might actually just do it with you. So square root of 25 we've already done. So let's do 50, just over here. And then 75. We're doing multiples of 25 now. So 3 lots of 25 is 175, 100, which is already done because the square root of 100 is 10. Then we've got 125. And then 150, sorry, just got a little bit lost then, 175, and then 200's already been done because it's a multiple of 4. Okay, 36 we don't need to do because 4 goes into 36 and we've already done it. 49, we've only got a few, so 2 times 49 is 98. Then if we add on another 49, that's going to make it 147, and I'm just, yeah, no, I'm good. 147, I'm pretty sure that's right. And then 196, which I think is already been done. Okay, so I might just quickly check on my calculator because I'd hate to be doing it wrong. So 3 times 49, good, 147, and then 4 times 49, 196. Beautiful. Okay, then 64 we don't need to do because 4 goes into 64 and we've already done it. And then 81, okay, so the square root of 81 is 9, which we've already done. 2 times 81 is 162, so let's find that. It's already been done. And then 100 and 200 is already been done. So what I've just gone through and done is everything with a red dot next to it can be simplified. All right, now I'll go through how to simplify them. Now on this sheet, I obviously can't go through and simplify them all, but it's probably a good idea just to know as a quick reference, all right, these ones can be simplified. So if you've done a red dot, that's great, or you can highlight it. All right, now underneath that, I'm just going to put this on a next page, just so we've got a bit of room. Oh gosh, all my square roots are gone, oh my gosh. Don't you hate that? No, I don't really need, let me just put a blank page. Okay, so I don't need that table necessarily because I know the first one we're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's go through how to do the square root of 8. Now, the reason I got you to do this multiples of 4 is because to simplify 8, we need to know what square number goes into it. So that's 4. So 8 is the same as 4 times 2. So writing it like that just allows you to see, all right, 4 times 2, we've got the square root of 4 and the square root of 2. So you can simplify them. The opposite of that is expanding them. So instead of writing the square root of 4 times 2, we can just separate them. So the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. And we know that the square root of 4 is 2. And then we don't write this multiply sign, we just write root 2. So the square root of 8 simplifies to 2 root 2. All right, let's do the next one on the list. And from memory, it was 12. So the square root of 12. Okay, so what square number went into 12? It was 4. So 4 times what gives you 12? It was 4 times 3. So then just separating these two out. So my working out here is what you should be doing until probably you can do it in your head. So it's kind of similar to fractions. When you were doing fractions, you didn't necessarily, when you started, you had to write all the steps, but now you probably don't write all the steps. Okay, so square root of 12 is 2 root 3. Now, it's not always going to be 2 root something. So let's do an example that isn't. So 18. Okay, so we say, all right, what square number goes into 18? And it was 9. This is why you need to know your square numbers. So 9 times what? 9 times 2. Separate them out. Now, a question I got the other day, doesn't matter what order you put it in? No, because 9 times 2 is 18 and 2 times 9 is still 18. I always write the square number first, so you remember that's what you're simplifying, because I'm not simplifying, but that's what your integer is. And some people find that easier, just putting it at the front. So we've got 3 root 2, because that's how it's written. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with writing 2 times 9. It's just, I think, more sensible way of doing it. All right, another one you need to know is the square root of 36. And there's other similar ones like this. 36 isn't a very special number. It's just an example of one that can be simplified. And think of it as, okay, when you're simplifying a fraction, let's say if we were to simplify 20 over 30, okay, so if we were to simplify 20 over 30, you could simplify that to 10 over 10 over 15, but it can be simplified further. So we've always got to look for the highest square number. Okay, so, oh, why did I choose 36? Obviously that's 6. All right, let's just quickly choose a different one. Silly Billy. Okay, let's do 72. Okay, I know 72 works. All right, so 72 in itself is not a square number like 36. Okay, so we've got to say, well, I know the number 4 goes into 72. I think 16 also goes into 72. Or does it? Let me just check my calculator. You want your calculator to work. Just bear with me. What was I doing? I should know my 16 times tables. No, it doesn't. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So 4 goes, 9 does, doesn't it? Oh, gosh. Yes. So 9 goes into 72. And so does 36. Okay, so you can simplify it using 4. You can simplify it using 9, but 36 is the highest. So I'm going to show you different ways. So just in case you didn't do the highest. So let's do 36 first. So 36 times 2, separate them out. And we've got 6 root 2. Now, if we were to do, okay, so I'm going to write that again. So square root of 72. Okay, let's say you said, all right, I know that 9 times 8 equals 72. So then you're going to say, well, the square root of 9 times the square root of 8. So I've got 3 root 8. There we go. There's a huge problem though, because square root of 8 can be simplified. And remember we did that before. Let's just see if I can scroll up here. Okay, so we did that before here. Square root of 8. So what we would then do is simplify the square root of 8. So you'd have to say, we can keep going. So square root of 8 is 4 times 2. And then we've got 4 times root 2. And then it's 3 times 2 times root 2. What is that? Let's just, I'll try to undo and just tell me at the top. Okay, let's just go over it. That's a 2. Okay, 3 times 2 is 6, and then we've got root 2. Okay, so you can see I got 6 root 2 there. Much fewer steps. Okay, but eventually if you did the wrong number, well, not the wrong number, but not the highest multiple, then you got a little bit more working out to do. Okay, so go through, let me just go back to our sheet. You can go through and do all them if you like, and then you've got a reference for them to see how you go. But it's just good to see, okay, things with a red dot, I can simplify. Everything else is already in its simplified form. Okay, bye.